Zeidon Alkinani here in Doha. Mr. Gholamzadeh says there that the Iranian armed forces and the Iranian president are on the same page, that they're not attacking the regional countries. But as we've seen in the last week, infrastructure, energy infrastructure, even civilian infrastructure in the region has been targeted. Do you share his view that they're on the same page and that it's one message, one clear message coming out of Tehran?
It reminds us of the Israeli claims when they were presumably only targeting Hamas and Hezbollah in Lebanon and in Gaza, but ending up targeting and bombarding civilians. I have to disagree with our colleague. The Iranian attacks against the GCC has been an existential threat to the national security of the GCC as states and societies. Most of the attacks has been against those countries more than any of the proclaimed focused or the focused targets as the U.S. interests as they claimed to be focusing on. Iran has been an aggressive actor in the region beyond the GCC, even if the official Iranian armed forces have not set foot in some of the neighboring countries. The IRGC and a lot of its and many of its proxy network affiliates in Iraq and Lebanon and Syria have conducted political intimidation and crimes in order to protect regimes or political system or movements that are affiliated with the Islamic Republic in the region.
All right. Resul Serdar, who's in control today in Iran? Because both President Pezeshkian and Foreign Minister Arakchi have both claimed that they have difficulty reaching the forces in the field that have received prior instructions. Who is in charge today in Iran?
Constitutionally, so the Leadership Council that is made of the President, the head of the Judiciary, and also a representative of the Guardian Council. And that's why today, when the President Pezeshkian have released his statement saying that this decision has been taken by the Leadership Council, the Interim Leadership Council, and it has been communicated with the army. However, practically, both of them are also accepting a certain level of lack of the communication between or a problem of the command and control.
Mm-hmm. So there's a disruption across command and control.
It seems so, because the foreign minister of the country was saying that this is a strategy, a kind of decentralization that was prepared before the war. And now that the president say, well, because the commanders were killed, so there hasn't been a proper communication. And that's why some of the units acted at their own will and started to hit some regional countries. However, here it's quite clear that the president is apologizing for something, saying that it was a wrong policy, and now we have decided to reverse it. And just in 2 hours, the army, the Revolutionary Guards, are releasing a statement and saying, well, with all respect, we have done nothing wrong so far. So I do not see, when you look at it, these two, how you can see them on the same page.
Okay. Let's bring in Mr. Gholamzadeh to respond to that once again. I mean, is there not a disconnect, it would seem, between what the Iranian president is saying and what the armed forces are saying? What do you make of what you've heard from both Resul and Zeidon?
You know, if you want to take it more analytically, I would say that Arab countries should not consider the apology from the President Pezeshkian for themselves. I would say it is more for Azerbaijan, actually, and who had asked the other day from Iranian side for an apology. It seems to be more for that.
But he apologized. I mean, he apologized to Gulf countries specifically. He didn't mention Azerbaijan.
He said neighboring countries, actually.
Okay, well,
he said neighboring countries.
Neighboring countries,
he did not say
plural,
Arab countries.
Is not just Azerbaijan, is it?
I know. I'm here in Tehran, and just as I said, I am analyzing his speech.
Okay.
I would say, okay, if you want to consider it an apology for everyone, be my guest. No problem with that. But politically speaking, I think he was actually discouraging the Azerbaijan from taking any actions or taking any position against the Islamic Republic. But as I said, the situation in the region, regarding the neighboring countries, in the Arab countries, is not an aggression from Iranian side to them. Let's not take it for granted that these Arab countries have given their lands to the American bases, and they have actually welcomed the Americans here to target and attack Iran. So this is a mere fact that you cannot ignore.
There were no attacks launched from the American bases in the region, as far as we know.
There have been. There have been.
What proof do you
The
have
school,
of that?
the very school that was targeted, the school that was very targeted on the very first day,
Okay.
in which 160 students.
There were attacks from bases in this region, which we have no proof of.
So far, there are no proof of that, and all of these countries have been extremely clear to the frustration of the United States that they are not going to open up the bases here or allowing the American aircrafts to fly from the American air bases here. And also, just as an addition, so the civilian infrastructure, Dubai airport has been attacked, Kuwait airport has been attacked, the vicinity of the Doha airport has been attacked. So Ras Laffan, an energy facility, has been attacked in Saudi Arabia as well. So, and these are not the military facilities. These are purely civilian and the economic facilities. So here we can see that there is definitely a strategy that's working. Iran is not only trying to undermine the U.S. military assets here, but also by punishing the regional countries, is hoping to force them and to put pressure on the U.S. And then when you say our brothers and sisters in the region, people are questioning whether this is a candid statement or not.
Right. Zeidon, let me come to you finally and ask you about President Trump's latest comments, just to widen this out a little bit, because we can't forget that the U.S. and Israel are the ones who launched this attack on Iran initially. We heard from President Trump in the last hour, who said that there will be more targets and officials, that this will be widened out to possibly more areas and actors. What could he be hinting at here, you think?
Hinting the ability and the continuity of the war, given that what we're noticing through the media, Trump is lacking a very strong domestic support, whether across the spectrum between the Republicans and both the Democrats as well. Meaning that, as we previously mentioned, there was no clear strategic plan B in the case of the continuity of the war following the assassination of Khamenei, assuming that they would be able to determine the situation similarly to what they did with Venezuela once they toppled Maduro. They're trying to buy time as well. It's an information war at the same time. It's a media war at the same time, beyond the geopolitical aspect, trying to show the confidence, trying to show the ability to continue throwing these strong punches, particularly given the fact that the U.S. hasn't utilized all of its military capabilities. One of the common features of a military attack would be the lack of not having an on-ground invasion. That would require a lot of much more domestic support. They may also be surprised that Iran is still being able to conduct a lot of these attacks, being able to afford and continue this war despite the significant airstrikes by both the United States and Israel. It's a war of rhetoric, it's a war of discourse, trying to show the confidence in continuing with this war. Of course, we're not denying that the U.S. is much more militarily advanced than the Islamic Republic. Their ability perhaps to continue the war in the direction they would want to is very possible. The question is, how much will the Iranian regime survive, and how much is the U.S. aware and knowledgeable about the political dynamics internally in Iran? It seems like it's very limited based on the early actions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few days, of course. Thank you so much, Zeidon Alkinani, Hamid Reza Gholamzadeh, and